a highly anticipated fourth album from Midwest emo royalty, the first album in 13 years for a revered electronic duo, the latest acclaimed opus from the Daddario brothers, and a debut effort from an exciting London-based art rock outfit. This is 5 to 9's Album of the Month episode for May 2026. Now, the first thing you'll notice is neither Andrew nor Kylie are able to join for this episode because, in true fashion to ourselves, we went into this episode with like the best intention of a reunion with Kylie after he stepped away last year. But the schedule between the three of us just didn't align this time. However, I'm very pleased to have joining me today and stepping in last minute to save the day like a true hero, Alex Curle from the Man vs. Music blog. Alex, how are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing good, thank you. Yeah, really good.
Great stuff. Great to have you here. And as has become custom for our guest podcaster each month, do you want to tell us a little bit about your blog and how you got into music reviewing?
Yeah, so it first stemmed from university, really. I'd studied at University of Lincoln, music degree. And the blog initially started for me having a jab at the industry, essentially. It was just me spouting how unpaid artists were, how perceived in the industry we are, and just it was just me ranting online. It soon turned into something that I didn't want it to turn into because it was just me being quite negative and it was quite exhausting. So then I soon developed into this world of PR, and this I can do album reviews and get them early and I can have a listen and have them up online. People can read my words. So, and it's then from there. And then, essentially started doing album reviews just after lockdown, I think. And I just started, because I've always been, as you know, and everyone knows, the lover of music. So what better way to voice your opinion and listen to albums in full than to do reviews on them. So it's stemmed from there and it's got better ever since, I suppose.
Great stuff. And now you're doing reels on Facebook, Instagram as well.
So that stemmed from kind of expanding, if you like, trying to get more clicks, content, and just having a bit more creative freedom with it. I've never been comfortable talking to a camera, so I wanted to kind of develop that area, and I always want to push myself a bit more. So, and I'm always better writing down what I feel as opposed to talking about it. Yeah. So I was like, I want to do this avenue, and then I can get my clicks through links to actually talking to my audience. So, so that's been fun. It's been challenging, but really positive, engaging in terms of the website as well. So I think I'm getting around about 100 clicks a day now on my blog.
Amazing.
So it paid its dividends. It's just, as you know, it's hard to juggle freelance with work full paid full-time job.
Absolutely. That's where the 5 to 9 ethos comes in. We're all doing this in our spare time, sadly. But no, that's great stuff. And I didn't realize that it was University of Lincoln that you went to. That's like my also went to University of Lincoln. That's like my hometown. So
great stuff.
So great to have you here. And as always, before we go into the 4 albums on the shortlist for this month, I'd like to have a look back at other gigs, festivals, songs, albums, EPs that we enjoyed in May. So I know it's a little while ago now. We're recording this in July, early July. So Alex, if you can think back to what were your May highlights outside of the 4 albums we're going to discuss?
Well, outside the 4, I have to go with I think they're a duo or trio, especially out of Newcastle. You're probably aware of, they're called Nats, I think. A Great Day Newcastle, 1st of May release. It was the first time I ever listened to them, but I am a huge lover of jazz. The reason why I went to university is I'm a drummer, first and foremost. That was my first passion, and I fell into drumming through jazz. So to have such a beautiful album with this, and that element of rapping over the top of these lovely jazz arrangements. It took me away. It's just two lads talking about growing up in Newcastle, over just beautiful jazz, and I fell in love with it. It's one of those that you can just stick on, listen all the way through. I love those kind of albums.
Great stuff. From my side, I mean, I've got my top three. I mean, the one that I'll definitely mention, which I've played to death at this point, Kevin Morby's latest album, Little Wide Open. It was one that was in consideration for the May episode, and it's kind of like one of those where with this certainly from me, like a real strong album of the year contender. I just absolutely adore that record. It's just timeless, heartfelt songwriting, textures and melodies that you just want to like keep experiencing over and over. It's got Aaron Dessner from The National on there, Lucinda Williams, Bon Iver. They're all like contributing on the record as well. And yeah, just the opening trio of Badlands, Die Young, and Javelin, like that pulls you in, and then from there, you'll just be locked into the rest of the album. It's just absolutely stunning. So that's definitely a highlight. The other one that I wanted to mention, The Haunted Youth, with their second album, Boys Cry 2. So this is a band from Belgium, and best way you can describe them is if you put like The Cure, Little Peep, Beach House, and Suede into like a blender. This is probably the album that you'd get. It's got like a warm familiarity to it with those kind of touch points of those bands, but it's also like really unique because it's an amalgamation of those. It still feels quite fresh and original. So the only downside of it, I think lyrically it can be quite like weak and cliched at points, but when the guitars kick into gear and like the rest of the sonics, that it's just so atmospheric and dreamy, with some really like addictive riffs like throughout the record. And at that point you kind of forget about the lyrics and you just like soak in the sounds that fill in your ears. So it's one of those albums that just keep wanting to get lost in. It's just a great like headphones record. And then the last one that I'll just give a shout out to is a band that have quickly taken off. I mean, you might be able to relate to this as well. I got into them off seeing them at Dot to Dot in Nottingham. And it's my last pick is the debut EP from one of my discoveries from Dot to Dot, which is Bleach 93. Their self-titled EP, which I go through the lineup every year on YouTube just to check out every single artist, because even the ones that I don't manage to catch on the day, there's like so many like great discoveries that I tend to make through just listening to who's playing that festival. But this is one that I did manage to see. I think you managed to see them as well, didn't you? Bleach 93.
No, I missed them. I think I was at Chinese American Bear at the same time. They were at Metro.
Oh, yeah, they're a fantastic band as well.
Yeah, but Bleach, as you said, the Bleach are fantastic. They're similar to Darling to Stampender, I think. Very very good.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of riding that wave of I always say, like, if Fontaine's DC and Wonder Horse, like those bands that are kind of chopping into like 90s alt rock, Ben Zera, Radiohead, Smashing Pumpkins, all that kind of stuff coming through. But yeah, their EP is just 5 songs, all killer, no filler. And yeah, I mean, they're one band that are just absolutely blowing up. I mean, they played Rescue Rooms as part of Dot to Dot, but I think they've already sold it out. Sold out Rescue Rooms themselves with their headline show later on this year. So yeah, just really, really taken off the back of that one EP. So yeah, definitely recommend those. So yeah, that was our highlights for May. So we'll now get into the 4 albums. So the first one is American Football by American Football. as it's better known, LP4. And I guess I'll take the lead on this one, seeing as I'm just get there this shot. Yeah, dressed for the occasion. I'll tell you a short story about this. So I ordered this. They had two different ones. There was like this black one, and then there was like a red one, which didn't have the collar. And I was like, oh, I tend to prefer black shirts anyway. I was like, the black one looks really good. Anyway, it turns up, and I just looked like a referee. I was like, I should have got the red one. Like every time I put it on, I'm like, I look a lot like a referee.
And you watch a Sunday League match.
Yeah. I'm not sure I can wear this out, but anyway.
It looks good though. You look good.
Yeah, it's a good one for around the house, but yeah, maybe not to. I'll get a lot of like whistles and cards thrown at me, I think. But so yeah, I mean, American football, primary project from Mike Kinsella, who's featured a few times on the pod through his other projects, Lies and Owen. But yeah, pleased that we can finally dig into an American football record. Because, yeah, I mean, the story of the band, pretty legendary at this point. 4 high school friends in, 3 high school friends, Mike Kinsella, Steve Lamos, and Steve Holmes. Mike had left his original outfit, Cap and Jazz, and another lesser-known band called the One Up Downstairs. And they started, this new outfit, exploring a blender of like post-hardcore and math rock. And then in the late 90s, released their self-titled debut album, American Football, with the, now iconic house. But yeah, at the time, that album just came out to like very little fanfare. And I think within a year of that first album coming out, the band basically just broke up. They went off to very, very unceremoniously, just went off to college. Like it was like the kind of high school band, released an album, went off to college. Mike started doing obviously the Owen stuff shortly after. And that was seemingly that for American football. But it was one of those that, in the decade following its release, that album just became this cult classic, this seminal work that just inspired like countless bands and basically helped form what we now know as like the Midwest emo subgenre that's about today. And it was the point where, this album got such recognition that they decided to play a few reunion shows back in 2014, which is actually where Nate Kinsella, Mike's cousin, joined the band. And it's also where I first discovered them as well.
Nice.
Was just watching the Reading Leeds Festival coverage on BBC iPlayer, and this band popped up that I'd never heard of, and I heard them play "Stay Home," and it was one of those like revelatory moments where I was like, "Who is this band, and where have they been all my life? This is like, this is music for me," kind of thing. After that, just became immersed in that debut album, like so many people have, and just been following them ever since from there. So that's kind of, I guess, my background with discovering American football. And I guess it was the same for a lot of people, because what started out as, it was meant to be a couple of reunion shows, then became, American football are back together. We got that long-awaited like sophomore album in 2016, which was everything you could have wanted. I think it ended up in my top 10 albums of the year in 2016. I think Drowned in Sound famously gave it like a perfect 10, which I wouldn't go that far, but it's certainly a great album. And then a couple of years later, LP3, which was a nice evolution of their sound. Whereas LP2 was kind of like almost like them playing the hits of that first record, LP3 was kind of like the natural evolution for the band. You had, Hayley Williams from Paramore guest vocaling, Rachel Goswell from Slowdive coming in on there as well. And they both like kind of offered like a contrast to Mike's vocals. And for me, I'd say that's probably their strongest American football record. I really think they kind of progressed with that album. So yeah, we arrived at LP4 back at the start of May with like this huge weight of expectation. I mean, particularly for me, it's one of those where it was like one of my favorite bands of recent years, coming off like this perfect trilogy of albums. Obviously, Mike's other projects as well. Like, I've absolutely loved all of them as well. So when this got announced, they released Bad Moons, the lead track, which is this beautiful, like 8 minute wonder. Yeah, it's just a stunning song. Easily one of the songs of the year for me. Um, yeah, just dreamy guitar passages. Mike pulling out like those classic witty one-liners that he has about his ex-wife meeting like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but it's Hyde spelled Hide, which is very like condescending with itself as always. And it's a song centered on that feeling of like hopelessness that consumes you when you come out of like a broken relationship. But then midway through, Mike finds someone new and the song just erupts into this like glorious, like 3 minute instrumental passages with some like just really soaring guitar riffs. And it's just like this triumphant, it's almost like a rebirth, like the end of that song, the way it plays out. I just think it's outstanding. And then No Feeling we got soon after, which was another great track with Brendan Yates of Turnstile helping out on backing vocals on the chorus. Both of those songs were really nice, like music videos too. So, off the back of like the previous work, those two songs, my anticipation going into that like first play back in the start of May was like fever pitch. I was like,
You did the countdown, didn't you?
yeah.
You were midnight countdown. You literally used to
Yeah,
do
I was there at midnight. I was there at midnight for it. And yeah, as has become a running theme on this podcast, sometimes those high expectations can be a curse. And I think for the first few listens, it yeah. I mean, initially I was quite disappointed. I think out the gate there was nothing gripping me like their earlier work did, or indeed those two singles that they released. And I mean, it's one of those as well where the press around the record, like the band had been talking about how their sound had evolved on this record, and there's nothing on. For me, there's nothing on here that feels as daring or as interesting sonically as what Mike and Nate gave us on the Lies record that they did 2 years ago, which, considering that album supposedly came out of them starting to throw ideas against the wall for an American football LP4, I thought we were going to get something maybe as bold as that. Like that was kind of like my thinking when they started talking about, it's a real revolution, thinking about that Lies record. I was like, okay. But for me, this feels like even less experimental than LP3. I think it's more of a regression back to like their traditional sound for me, particularly with certain elements across the instrumentation, I'd say. So yeah, I think so a lot of initial disappointment, I think, and I think it has remained probably my least favorite of the four American football records, and indeed one of my least favorite like Mike Kinsella records for some time. However, that's obviously American football's lofty standards, and I will say this: the more I've listened to it, it ended up my most played album of May, despite all of this. And it was one of those that the more I dived into it, the more it has grown on me. I'm still not. I'd still put it bottom of the pile, but in terms of, it's still an American football record. I'm still really appreciative of it. I mean, Man Overboard, I love as an opener. Feel like they do a great job of marrying like the sounds to the imagery Mike is painting in the lyrics on that song about being like lost at sea. You definitely get that in like the sounds that are presented there. Patron Saint Pale was one that I really wasn't fussed about initially, but that has massively won me over. I just love the jangly guitars on that song, and it's like rawness. It's quite raw instrumentation and vocals on that song. And then for me, the best of the non-singles is Wake Her Up, which is very The Cure for me. Got the dreaming like backing vocal work from Natalie Lou of Wisp. And then you've got that goosebump inducing like trumpet from Steve Lamos, which again is just classic American football. And then the song right at the end, No Soul to Save, I'll quickly shout out that one too. Just love the gospel harmonies at the end of that track. A nice way to round up the record. So yeah, appreciate probably rambled on slightly there, but it's one of those where there's a lot to dissect with this one. And overall, I'm still I'm still a little bit torn on how I feel about it. I think ultimately where I've landed is it's simultaneously my least favorite entry in their catalog, but also still probably one of my favorite records of certainly this year that I'm playing quite a lot. And I do find myself going back to it, but I think that's more my love for American football more than necessarily, necessarily how good it is. So I don't know, but yeah, I think that's the nature of the beast. You know, when it's a band you love releases a project like this that maybe doesn't meet, as you say, their own standards or your own expectations for their work, but it's still maybe more. You still love it more than other records you listen to because of your connection to them and their music. So. But yeah, that's the case. That's the case for me. I'd love to hear what you made of LP4.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I'm going to take a step back because your love of American football is far better than mine. I first initialized from their first debut. I think that's the first time that I've ever. Never Meant was always, it's just an emo anthem that's on every sorrowful playlist, every film, the heartbreak. Beautiful Lost Time song. So I came into LP4 as a kind of a fresh fan, if you like. I listened to Comfortably Numb from LP3. LP2 was something that I didn't really listen to. So for me, I came in with a kind of more fresh pair of ears onto it.
Yeah.
Not knowing anything about the band, essentially, apart from I love their story, how they made this album, they went away and they came back because it was just loved by so much, and I love that story. But the album itself, I actually really enjoyed it. I loved how they made my favorite quote that they said was that their first album they could only make when they were children, teenagers, and this album they can only make when they're adults. It's essentially these men just pouring their lives into kind of midlife crisis. Going through divorce, regret, guilt. So yeah, I like the kind of breadth of where they've been and where they're going now. I think it's far more expansive. Of course, I'm comparing their debut to this. I'm missing a bit too crucial albums in between. But from a fresh, coming from an album on its own, if you like, as a project. I did really enjoy it. I think you're right. I think Bad Moons is a big takeaway, and you can definitely tell that was the impetus, if you like, of this album. They've gone down that line. That's the baby. That's the golden ticket. So yeah, you're right. That album, that song is going to be certainly in that list, if you like, song of the year. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it far more than you. But you have that knowledge of the past two records that you felt more inclined to. So yeah, that's my view on it.
Great stuff. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think sometimes it can be better that way, not to have those expectations, and you know, sometimes a album can just pleasantly surprise you that way. So yeah, that was album number 1. We'll move on to album number 2, which is Inferno by Boards of Canada. This is one that I wasn't massively inspired by, so I'll let you take the lead on this one. On what did you think to Boards of Canada?
Yeah, of course, it's similar vein to American football. With Boards of Canada, obviously I knew about Music Has the Right to Children, their debut in '98, which very much is the bread and butter, still is, of ambient electronic. It's the pretty much the catalyst of what's come after it. So that's always been on every list, every fanatic of electronic music. So, and it's their first in, I believe, 13 years. So again, similar to American football, there's a lot of press around it, a lot of hype around this record for being away so long. They are only Scottish duo, I believe, and they are, yeah. I mean, they're this first listen for me, I think, was again, it has moments of, it's for that on those album where it's a headphone album, and it's an album I have to listen to in full, and in a dimly lit room, looking out the window, kind of forlornly, and it's very much their catalyst of who they are as a band. It's pleasantly unnerving, I would say. Moments it's jarring in times, and the moments it's beautiful. I love how they incorporate these documentary sounds, almost kind of Wall-E, Portal GLaDOS, with that glitchy electronics, which just brings that light of that nostalgic feel that this band bring, and that's why a lot of their fans love them for it, because it makes them feel young, naive, free. So yeah, very imaginative. They're very original in their sound. I don't think you can really pin it on another band sounding like them. So yeah, I loved it for how different it is, how different they are, and it's nice to see them back after so long. Again, I'm similar to you. It's not my usual avenue that I listen to, but I have friends that are absolute lovers of electronic, and I just had to have a little gander. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed first listen, second listen. I think I'm halfway through my third, which again disrupts the flow. It's I'm halfway through it, but yeah, I really, really loved it.
Great
What's
stuff.
what's your opinions on it?
Yeah, I mean, I probably came in like quite unfamiliar with Boards of Canada, like certainly their back catalogue. The only album I vaguely remember listening to is their last record 13 years ago, Tomorrow's Harvest. Like the cover of that one, when I was flicking through Apple Music, kind of rang a bell. I know from Andrew and Kylie, they were certainly like definitely the first couple of albums, particularly that first one that you mentioned, is like the classic material that I need to go back and kind of do my research on at some point. So yeah, I think based off that, I didn't have too much expectation on this one, other than knowing that they are this like highly revered band. Obviously, I do like my electronic music, so I was really looking forward to really digging into one of their projects. Pretty much for the first time. Like I said, I remember listening to Tomorrow's Harvest, but it's not one that I've gone back to. So yeah, it felt like a fresh listen. But yeah, I must say, sadly, this is one that I've played a bunch now, and it's still just not pulling me in. It's one of those where I can appreciate what they're going for, and I can see what the appeal, certainly see what the appeal is. Like it's like this industrial, like dystopian epic that feels like. I know you mentioned like the documentary sounds in there. It feels like a movie soundtrack to like the hellscape that is planet Earth in 2026. It was like if this year could have like a movie soundtrack, it would probably be Inferno by Boards of Canada. That's how it feels. But yeah, I think the big thing for me is that it just never quite comes together. It feels quite convoluted and disjointed, like the tracks don't really flow into each other, which might actually be like deliberate in the design, but it's almost like here's an idea, and then just when you think it's building into something, it moves on to something else entirely. and I end up leaving like feeling a bit deflated, like I'm just waiting for the payoff, and it never quite comes. And then I think because of that, like the times that I have played it, it's like you say, it's good headphones records that you can just stick on and have on. But the times where I am kind of trying to immerse myself in it and not have it on as just like background music, it quickly becomes a bit of a slog. Um, and every time, like I think it's that first run of tracks I struggle with, and then when is it Naraka comes in, that's the one that kind of saves the day for me. It's just like these wonderful, like spacey synths, that lovely like Oriental influence to the music. Easily one of the best moments on here for me. And there's a nice little run of tracks shortly after that song too, with like The Word Becomes Flesh, Into the Magic Land, Blood in the Labyrinth, Deep Time, like that stretch. That's the part of the record where for me it does seem to have maybe some coherence and some more captivating ideas being put forward. Just yeah, some really atmospheric, nice guitars and sitar patterns like hitting your ears, amongst those like otherworldly like electronics and synths. But yeah, really those tracks are the high points for me. I think it's an album that I can quite happily, as I say, put on, had on in the background. But yeah, it does just quickly like fade into background noise or make me want to do something else whenever I'm trying to like focus in on it. But yeah, I really wanted it to be one of those electronic albums that just become like completely immersed in like the sonic world being painted. But it's just one of those that's not happened for me sadly yet.
No, so I think the second half is, you're right, the second half is far stronger. But hey, pitchfork coming for you now, Carl. That's it.
Yeah,
Pitchfork. That's
how dare you? I mean, I think from what I've seen, I think it's been quite a divisive project. It is one of those that fans and critics are completely spellbound by this album, and then I've seen other reviews where some people really can't stand it. I mean, I did see one on Album of the Year where they gave it like 3 out of 10, which seems a little bit harsh, but yeah, I think it is a bit of a Marmite record, this one. And I think for me, I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I can appreciate what the band is aiming for, even if it doesn't, pull me in or interest me, and the execution for me, doesn't quite pay off. But yeah, it is one that I can happily just have on in the background, and it's not going to offend me in any way. So yeah, I'd give it an okay. It's an okay album for me, and probably a great album for you. Yeah.
yeah, as any album that I can lose myself in, I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
So anything that takes me away from the mundane spreadsheets, somewhere else, I do have a tendency to like it more. So I might be biased, but yeah.
Great stuff. So yeah, that was Inferno by Boards of Canada. And the next one we're going to move on to is Look for Your Mind by the Lemon Twigs. Which I can kick this one off. So I mean, Twigs one of those bands that, yeah, if you followed their career till this point, particularly Everything, Harmony, and A Dream Is All We Know, you kind of know what you're getting with them at this point, and it's one of those where they're not going to stray too far from that. I think this album is what you'd expect from them. It's a fantastic collection of retro inspired like rock, pop, power pop songs, plenty of like Beach Boys influence, plenty of Beatles influence, psychedelic like 70s rock. That's all still here, like being worn firmly on their sleeve. And I think with Look for Your Mind, it is a case of like more of the same, particularly looking at those last two records. But I say that in a positive way, because I mean, if anyone's obviously watched this channel, always been a big fan of the Lemon Twigs and what they do. And for me, yeah, this is just more instantly timeless, like goodness from the Twigs that you'll just want to keep kind of going back to. I mean, the opening title track is just a, rollicking good start to the record. Then 2 or 3, which was one of the pre-released singles. Loved that straight away. Still probably one of my favorites on here. Just super catchy, super nostalgic in its sound. Yeah, it just feels like a vintage like Lemon Twigs bop. That song. Um, then there's like fantastic guitar work on Nothing But You. There's a great solo midway through that track that I really, really enjoy. Um, there's a few moments as well that like Gather Round was one that I think I was unsure of initially. Um, I think that it happens a lot with Lemon Twigs where like a song will start and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure about this. But then it'll get to a point in the song and then I'm fully in it. And Gather Round is one of those where I'm like, oh, I'm not sure. And then by the time the horns come in, like at the end of that song, I'm there like singing along to the chorus, just like absolutely in it. And then, yeah, lead single, I just can't get over losing you. Great, fantastic song as well. So yeah, I'd say it's one of those records that starts like at a high standard and it doesn't really let up from there. Um, bring you down towards the end. Got this great like rockabilly like energy to it. Joy towards the end, another one of my big favorites. Just this like beautiful Simon and Garfunkel inspired track with sweeping strings and horns. I should also mention, obviously, we went to see Lemon Twigs together, and I'd say Joy was one of the ones where it was just Brian performing that on his own. That was one that really stood out at the show for me. And yeah, the song straight after that, My Heart Is in Your Hands. I think that song's great as well. Got those big rock riffs and huge choruses again. So yeah, I mean, not too much to say on this one, other than like if you liked their previous work, chances are you'll probably enjoy this one as well. I think it's got some great highlights on it again, and it's just another really solid and fun like front to back experience from the Twigs. I'm sure at some point their shtick may become a little stale and samey, but thankfully, I don't think this is the record that hits that wall yet. For me, this kind of continues their winning run, albeit maybe pound for pound slightly below maybe the replayability and some of the high points of the last 2 records. So it's maybe the worst of the 3, but still well up there in terms of great rock records in 2026. So yeah, for me, big thumbs up again for the Daddario brothers. So what do you think?
Yeah, I really struggle with Lemon Twig. There's on paper, really do like them. Some of their previous albums are really good. Everything Harmony is a favorite of mine of theirs. But I think what kind of ruined it for my album for this is that apart from 2 or 3, it was a standout. It became, I think I'm at that point with this record where it has caught on that everything sounds the same.
Yeah.
I think what ruined it for me is that I discovered about 7 of the songs have this, Ticket to Ride by the Beatles.
Yeah.
And it has this boom, go, that iconic drum part. At least 7 or 8 of the songs have that in it. And as soon as I found that out, I was like, these are all the same song. So it kind of ruined it for me.
Yeah.
But the bit where it goes different, you're right, Joy, I think that's a different kind of avenue to go down. But yeah, a lot of my friends do like Lemon Twigs because of the nostalgic bit of the Beach Boys and the Beatles and that 60s swing. That was so iconic. But yeah, I've not revisited it, the album, to be fair. I think that tells you everything you need to know, I think.
Yeah.
From my point of view. But I appreciate how musically gifted they are, because they're really, really good. Singing live, their harmonies is definitely their what's the word? Yes, the unique selling point is their harmonies and how that's it. Yeah, how well they come together. So yeah, I'm not putting down as musicians. I just think they need to just turn the wheel a bit, play something a bit different. But yeah,
Good stuff. So yeah, a bit of a mixed response on the Lemon Twigs Look for Your Mind. And now we'll move on to our final album for this month, which is Johnny Dreamworld by Modern Woman.
Tonight, I'll be yours. Dress me too.
And yeah, I know you were familiar with these guys kind of going into this debut, so I'll pass over to you to kick us off on this one.
yeah, a pleasant surprise for me. It's bonus points at the debut. I always love an album, a band on the rise that does a mega debut. Absolutely love when a band comes through, breaks that mold, breaks the barrier. Yeah, it's proper. It's an art rock delight, really. It's frolic fantasies through a field. It's very impactful in places. So the idea of the album, I believe, is discussion on feminism and basically female operating in this world in 2026. So it's aggressive in parts. It's meant to be discomforting, and it works so well. And in other moments, it's a joyous rebellion. It's the release of emotions, and it's exciting. So yeah, first listen, I really, really enjoyed it. It harks back similar to that dinner party, and their amazing vocals from them. So yeah, if you're a fan of Black Dinner Party, I think Modern Woman are your go-to for that gap in between.
Yeah, no, I definitely second that. I mean, Modern Woman, one that I wasn't familiar with at all before going into this record. I did have the chance to catch them live at Get Together back in May, so around the time this album was out. But it was one of those that heavy clashing prevented going to see them. But yeah, that it's one of those where this debut album I've actually grown to quite enjoy. I think when we did the last podcast, when I mentioned this to Andrew because it was Andrew's pick. When I initially first went to play this record, it was one that completely caught me in the wrong mood, and I found it initially like quite grating. So it's one of those where I hit play on it, and where you're like, you just know it's like not the right time for a record, and you just need to put it on the shelf for a bit of time and then come back to it at a later date. That was definitely me on the first listen. I was like, no, I'm not ready for this album yet. I need to get in the right frame of mind before I go into this one. But I think it's one of those that when you're in, if you're not in the right frame of mind for it, it's probably not always easy listening. But like you say, if you're a fan of modern bands like The Last Dinner Party, 100% they're the biggest touch point, I'd say. Also throw in like Black Country New Road, bit of Wolf Alice. I think you'll find stuff that will win you over here, because that's certainly the case of what happened with me. The sound is very theatrical. It's got those art rock kind of baroque pop moments like The Last Dinner Party, like you mentioned. But I'd say the biggest difference is it's got like more experimental instrumentation. It's got lots of like punk rock energy at points. And the biggest selling point for me is Sophie Harris, just a terrific vocalist. And yeah, if once I got into the right frame of mind with this one, it really kind of got my attention. I mean, that opening run with the title track, Neptune Girl, I think, and Offerings, I think is the other one, like solid enough start. But then you get to Killing a Dog, and that's where the album is really like grabbing you by the scruff of the neck. it's a bit of a behemoth, that song. It starts out very like graceful, folky, quite meandering. Um, Harris's vocals like almost operatic, and then the like these ominous strings come in, and for like the final minute or so, the band just like erupt into like this ferocious like rock crescendo at the end of that song. And yeah, I think it's just fantastic, that track. Daniel straight after, similarly great. Just Harris's like voice with this like gentle like flutter of strings. Much more like stripped back, that song, but just utterly captivating. Four-Cart in the back half of the album as well starts off like similarly like quite stripped back, but then it bursts into like, you know, some stomping rock riffs, and that kind of theme continues through on Blessed Day, which has like this fantastic like central riff running through it, with Harris like doing all these like coos and screeches over the top. And then Dashboard Mary is this really like triumphant penultimate track, that's got that great I'm not saying I'm coming home like refrain, which feels like fitting for like its place in the track list. You kind of get towards the end of the album, and it really kind of like drives home that message. And yeah, and then right at the end, it all kind of ends quite peacefully with The Garden, which is like this really minimalist like piano organ ballad, where again it's just Sophie Harris's like voice is like the star of the show for me. So yeah, I'd say like American Football, it took some time to get there with this album, but eventually came to really enjoy this. And like you, I think it's a very solid debut. I think the first few tracks are decent, but really it's those last like 6 tracks for me where the band really step up and come into their own, and I think that really shows their potential. You know, from Killing a Dog onwards, that's where it's like, okay, these are definitely one to watch. So yeah, solid introduction, and very intrigued to see what Modern Woman do next.
We treat to how they are in a live circle. Want to catch them. See if that Into the Sea of the album and Rushing comes on stage. That'll be something to witness.
Definitely. And yeah, I know Andrew did manage to get to see them. He went to one of their shows, so we'll have to remember to ask him that on the June episode, how he found seeing them live. But yeah, so that brings us to the end of the 4 albums we've gone through. So now, as we always do, it's time for the rankings and the verdict, to see what is our album of the month for May. So I'll just read out Andrew's scores first. Andrew obviously couldn't make the episode, but he's still here in spirit. So his scores, so American Football, he gave a 7.5. Boards of Canada, he gave a straight 8 out of 10. The Lemon Twigs, he gave an 8.5. And Just Pippin' It to the Post, he gave Modern Woman 8.6, which one of the highest. I mean, he's given a couple of 8.8 so far this year, but 8.6 is his third highest scoring album of the year so far. So he really must have taken to that Modern Woman debut. I'll then move on to
you guys do points. You do the point. Oh, that's
Andrew does.
Okay.
So we've had a mixture. We've had some people just do the. It's kind of like we're very loose with the scoring system. You can do the decimals if you want.
Nice.
I started out this year not doing the decimals, and I've kind of wished that I had, like, at least done the 0.5.
It's more thorough, I think. Yeah.
I think, but because I've started with just the flat, I'm like, I'm not changing it this year. Maybe next year I'll add the 0.5s into the scoring. But I'll go through mine anyway. So American Football, I gave an 8. Boards of Canada, I gave a 5. Was flicking between a 5 and a 6, but didn't end up on a 5, which I know Pitchfork, if they weren't already coming for me, they're definitely coming for me now. Lemon Twigs, I gave a 7. I think, like you, I think it's good, but maybe not quite on the level of the last 2 records. And then Modern Woman, I also gave an 8. So 2 8s for me, 5 and a 7. So deciding votes then from yourself, Alex. So just read through what you gave each record.
Yeah, so it's changed since I gave my initial scoring. So Border Canada, I give a 7.
7, yeah.
Modern Woman, I gave a 9.
9 for Modern Woman, yeah.
American Football, I gave an 8.
8, yeah.
And then Lemon Twigs, sadly, got a 6 from me.
6. So that means that the winner of the May Album of the Month title is Modern Woman with a score of 25.6.
Wow.
Which, looking, I think that's actually our highest scoring album of the year so far. Yeah, it is.
Blimey.
Yeah. Let me just double check that. I'm going through. Yeah, highest scoring album of the year so far. So we've had we've had some strong debuts this year, and that's topping the list so far. So great stuff. There we have it. Congratulations to Modern Woman for winning the Album of the Month title for May. That's it for this episode. However, our June episode is also out now, so I'll add a link to that here somewhere where we will be reviewing new releases from Of Montreal, Slift, Swim Deep, and Olivier Rodrigo. So keep an eye out for those. But for now, thank you to Alex for his insights and for joining us on this last minute episode. He'll be back for the June episode as well. And yeah, thank you all for watching.